Right, welcome back to another Instagram Live and Artist Stories. I'm Tara Wahab, and today we have another great artist. Her name is Kelly Dreisinger, and she's a poet or poetess, as she likes to call it. And while she's going to join us, I'm going to say a few words about Louder Society. Oh, she's already here. Let's just get her connected. Great. Hi.
Hello. Finally made it. Better late than never.
Yeah, it's true. It's all good.
Good.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, Kelly, I was just saying, I was just trying to introduce you and say that today we have Kelly Dreisinger. And now that you're here, please go ahead, introduce yourself to us. Tell us which city you're living in and what kind of art do you make?
Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly Dreisinger. I live in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I am a poetess.
Beautiful. Nice. So, Kelly, please tell us about why and how did you start writing poetry?
Well, there was a period about 15 years ago where I was really struggling in my marriage. And a few poems came to me at that point, and I just kind of tucked them away in a drawer. And then it was about late December of 2016. I had been going through a year of a lot of turmoil and trauma, and there was an incident that kind of triggered me, and as I was pondering it, a little verse, a little rhyme came into my mind, and I thought, ooh, that's good. I'm going to go write that down. And I did, and as soon as I put my pen to the paper, it's like the floodgates opened, and things just came out on paper, and like 20 minutes later, I had this amazing poem. And then the next day, as I was sitting there thinking about things again, another poem came. And then the next day, another one came, and it just kept coming. These poems just, I can only kind of describe it as a divine expression, as a gift, because it really just kind of came through me and onto the paper. And that's how it started.
Wow, beautiful. You're the first person who actually used these words as a divine expression for their art and creativity, because everybody else explains their experience as well. As a child I started, and it was always something that was like deeply within them, and they didn't discover it until they started working on it. So your experience was I guess completely intuitive.
Yes, I would definitely say so. I really didn't have to think too hard about it. And oddly enough, my poems are rhyming poems. So you do have to think to make things rhyme. But that first 6 months, they were just, I just had a lot, I guess, I needed to say and to get out. I kind of describe it as when my pain bubble burst. I was able to, get that hurt out and express it that way in poetry form. So it was very, very healing as well as I was able to let things out.
That's a beautiful word to use, healing. So I guess then you never had any education in the literature or,
No, not at all. No, I've always enjoyed poetry, but a really good girlfriend of mine, she is also a poet, and I think she was probably a big part of my inspiration. Because just a couple of months before mine came through, she'd been writing her poems for 30, 40 years and had finally compiled them all into a book. And so that was very inspiring for me. And she's also a rhyming poet, and we have a lot of the same subject matter. So she was very inspirational, and maybe I don't know, just allowing that form to come through.
Wow. So how many years has it been that you've been writing poetry?
About 3 years. About 3 years. They came very fast and furious, like I said, about the first 6 months, and then things kind of started slowing down a little bit, and then I started expanding my topic subject into, relationships and life and inspiration and, fears, anger, that kind of stuff. The first majority of my poems were directly related to addiction and recovery, the recovery process and that whole journey. Like my poems have chronicled my journey in that way.
Nice. So do you know how many pieces or how many poetries have you written so far? Do you count them at all or no?
Yeah, I keep track. I keep a binder, and I have a nice little list that I keep them. I keep them all, a list of their categories and whatnot. So I've got about 60 poems altogether now. Nice. And about half of them are, addiction and recovery, and the other half are the other, just general topics.
Yeah. Now that you have mentioned that, one of the questions that we ask all our guest artists here is that if they believe their art practice has any, effects on their health overall, and it seems like it did for you.
Absolutely. My mental, emotional health for sure. Like I said, it really was once the floodgate opened and I was able to let things out. It was very healing. There was a lot of tears. Those first, handful of poems were, because divine expression just comes right through your heart and soul. So yeah, it can be, and just letting that out, that pain, is very healing. And that's what I love about the work.
Definitely. Yeah. Wow. Very nice. So you said that the majority of your poetries are about the recovery. So is that the main theme that you work around?
Well, so you mean in regards to my poetry, is that my main thing?
Yes, yeah.
Initially it was. Like I said, for about that first 6 months, most of the poems were directly related to my addiction journey. And, for example, the second day as I was sitting there when the second poem came, it was because I was wondering, like, when did this start? Why did why, when, how? I was asking myself those questions. And because I was still I'm still in recovery, and recovery is a long process, and there's many phases and stages of it. So, I've written about some of the stages, some of the hurts, the pains, the warnings of it all, the pitfalls. Also, just becoming aware of is a part of recovery, becoming aware, wanting to make changes, all of those things. And so I always try to also include in my poems a very inspirational message. I don't like to just spew stuff, negative stuff without wrapping it up in a inspirational, hoping way.
Wow, very nice. Well, would you like to read some of those poetries for us?
Sure. I'd like to share a poem called The Bridge from Here to There. I just have to. Excuse me a moment.
Mhm.
Okay. The bridge from here to there. The highway to addiction is a one-way street, paved in hell and littered with deceit. After too many miles and a few U-turns, getting lost, ending up in a crash and burn, my God cried out and whispered, "That is enough. Precious child of mine, let's heal your stuff. I will cradle you and hold your hand. I will support you until you can stand. I will give you the tools until you can find the strength to heal your body, spirit, and mind. Don't be afraid of your new journey. You can lean on me because you are worthy. And I can promise that when you arrive, you will be grateful to be so alive. So my journey to freedom began with a desire to step into my light and out of my fire. Off in the distance, I could see a bridge, the winding path crossing the valley and ridge. I set my intention and off I went. I am determined, I will not relent. Along the way, I worked to release all the debris that keeps me from peace. I dance with defiance and ask to surrender. I battle my demons, the great pretender. I find honesty within as I give up denial. My walls are crumbling, my past in a pile. I see the bridge, come walk with me. We can support one another on this journey.
Beautiful. Wow.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Let's see, another one, another poem I'd like to maybe share. And this one actually has been published in a literary journal.
Nice.
Recently, and it's called Accepting Myself.
Mhm.
Okay. Accepting myself. I used to make it about what's out there, but as I look in the mirror, I stand and stare. Now I see a woman ready to be free, accepting the light and the dark side of me. In my darkness, I was a hurt little child, just needing to be loved, but feeling exiled. Didn't know I was worthy by God's own grace, that his fatherly love I could embrace, and playing it small so no one would notice, not enough confidence to be ferocious. My life was unbalanced and out of control, crying out now for my aching soul, my morals and values getting hard to find, injured spirit yearning for my peace of mind. I had forgotten that I am beautiful in God's eyes, because I was believing in my ego's lies. And then my world had to explode in order for me to take a new road. I got the message right from source that it was time to pursue a new course. Now I am ready to accept my light and shine it brightly for others' sight. Because I always knew there was more to me, so I'm crumbling my walls, my soul to free. I'm not as thought as I once thought. There's no reason to be distraught, because I'm just me, and just like you, I'm rising above and breaking through that glass ceiling that keeps us confined, the limiting beliefs that keep us blind. I can let go now of that hurt little girl. It's time to shine like a radiant pearl, aspiring to become the best version of me, aligning with purpose, because I am worthy.
Beautiful. That's a very nice inspirational poetry. I think especially for for the individuals who are dealing with lots of body issues and body image issues.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a very, very beautiful poetry that you wrote, and it's very inspirational just to remind them that they are worthy, they are loved, and they shouldn't
Absolutely.
underestimate that.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing that. So, Kelly, do you like to collaborate with other artists at all?
I would love to. I would really love to have I think I'd like to produce maybe a book of my own, and possibly a series of poetry books, possibly some anthologies. And I would really love to collaborate with a songwriter and possibly, have some of my poems turned into songs.
Nice.
And I'd love to work with a graphic designer that can also put this to video, these words into some type of a digital video format.
Nice. Yeah, that's great that you mentioned that. Tomorrow we actually have a songwriter. No, not tomorrow, on Friday. Friday
Oh,
we have a songwriter, yeah, and maybe he will watch your video and
yeah,
maybe you will get to, in contact with each other and see where it
that's
goes.
right. That's right. That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. And the next question to you was that, you mentioned that you would like to publish a book. Have you published any book so far at all?
Well, not of my own, but I have been a contributing author, and if I may show you in this book,
Nice.
I am a Brilliant Woman, Volume 3. I'm a contributing author, one of 12. We've all written our stories in here, and it's about stories of women who have courageously taken off the mask to reveal their true selves.
Mhm.
So that's my first time being an author, and there will be more.
It's just your story. Are there any of your poetries in your section or no?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I did include 2 poems. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
May I read one,
Of
actually?
course. Please go ahead.
Okay.
We would love that.
Okay. It's called My Pieces. Oops. Sorry about that.
All the pieces. Well.
Yeah, right. As they go flying. So as I had mentioned, I'd been through a very traumatic time. And so the first poem I had published in this chapter was describing, the whole event. And then I wrapped it up with another poem called My Pieces. So just a moment. Okay. My life as I knew it was blown to shreds, the pieces scattered like wind-blown threads. This divine storm tore me apart, my self-esteem shredded, a gaping hole in my heart. Without my foundation, my values were crossed. Who was I now? My spirit was lost. How did this happen? And why me? I cried. It was time for my comfort zone to be brushed aside. I plunged down into depths of despair. I had to surrender and cry out in prayer for the lessons in life that I needed to discover, my inner strength and faith in God to uncover. I soon realized there was a choice to make, let myself go or rise up for my own sake. My spirit dug in and would not let me crash. I will overcome and mend the gash. My path to freedom is a healing journey to put back the pieces that are meaningful to me. Living in balance with integrity, choosing faith and trust brings me serenity. I'm uncovering my strengths that I did not see. I'm finding pride as I discover me. But letting go and shedding the mask, being authentic, is no easy task. The trauma cut deep. I have a mountain to climb to put back my life one piece at a time.
Wow. Being authentic is not an easy task.
It's not. And being authentic and being vulnerable and sharing it. It's
It
not
takes
easy, but
study.
it's getting better, with more time and effort.
Yeah, yeah. I'm really glad that you took your poetry serious and you kept working on it and you didn't just ignore it.
Right. Now, saying that, I've noticed that it really ebbs and flows. Where I'll have a time period where nothing's coming, and then there will be a moment where something will trigger,
Hmm.
and then and it'll just flow out. Other pieces I've thought about what do I want to say, and then those poems require a little bit more of the thinking part,
Hmm.
rather than it just flowing through. But yeah, it's always a work in progress, and I love it. Yeah, it's very satisfying.
You'll have a lot of fun with it. That's great.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, Kelly, what is your perspective on art and creativity now that we are discussing how your creative process works?
I think art and creativity is very, very important to for a balanced life, a holistic lifestyle. Like, this whole last 4 years are for myself to create more balance in my life, come back into balance, and in a more holistic way. So, it's the emotional, the physical, I can't think of off the top of my head, but all around to become more balanced. And I really believe the creativity is important in that, because it's very, it can be very healing, very meditative, and it's a very, very good thing, and a good thing to delve into, delve into your creative side if you can, and see what that looks like for you. Might be other forms.
That's true. Yeah. I think everyone has, people have different gravitations towards different forms of creativity. For someone, poetry works. For somebody else, painting works. For somebody else, music is a better form.
Exactly.
But I think everybody has, some sort of gravitation towards some form of creativity. Maybe they haven't discovered it yet.
That could be, yes. But I would just recommend trying to, spend some time discovering what works in that area.
That's a very good recommendation. Now that you mentioned that, what would be your recommendations for those people who want to write poetries but haven't started at all and they're just lost?
I would recommend following other poets, either on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. There's lots of good Facebook groups that you can get ideas and inspiration and advice from. The thing with poetry, I think what makes good poetry is when it can evoke an emotion in the listener. Right. I think that makes a good piece is when, it evokes something, a feeling of some sort of, you can resonate with that, or,
Connecting.
So if somebody has, obviously everybody has feelings, and, so that's a good place to start, is connecting into those feelings that they're feeling, and try and express it in a meaningful, feeling way.
Yeah, but sometimes I say that we have to, as artists, we probably are the only individuals that our profession is to actually analyze our own feelings and emotions before we can produce anything. Whereas most people don't even have time for that.
No,
They just piled up on top of each other, and then one day they're just going to have a breakdown, or or something triggers it, and now they have to figure out what's going on and how they can fix it.
I would say probably we're generally a more sensitive type personality.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Kelly, you mentioned that there are lots of different Facebook pages and places. So, do you have any of those pages yourself? Like, are you on virtual environment a lot? Do you have a website? What do you do?
I don't have a website yet. I post my poetry on Instagram on my 2 sites, this being one of them, Bliss Point Poetry, and the other site where I showcase, obviously, my addiction and recovery journey is on a site called Sober Angel Poet. And then on Facebook, I started a Facebook group. It's a private group. It's for people, in recovery or curious, about their own drinking patterns or whatever, and they're starting to look into it. So I have a group there that I present information to, and other stories and whatnot, just to share the knowledge and whatnot.
That's great. Well, what is the name of the group?
Well, it is called Sober Angel.
Okay.
Sober Angels.
Great. Yeah, I'm sure it's great that you have started that group. It's, you know,
Yeah.
I'm sure there are many other people who would like to join in, but maybe they're afraid, maybe they are not feeling comfortable.
Exactly, because, unfortunately, addiction still is very stigmatized,
Hmm.
in society in
Yeah.
many ways. Um, so actually, if I may, I have
Mhm.
another poem that I wrote about that, which has a message that I'd like to impart about that.
Great.
Um, and the inspiration was kind of cute for this poem was I was in the store looking for a birthday card
Mhm.
for my daughter, and you know how a lot of birthday cards they've got that rhyme that says, some daughters are this and some daughters are that, and so as I was reading those cards, it was like some addicts are, and then this whole poem came out. So, and it's called Some Addicts. So,
Okay.
let's see here. There we go. Okay. Some addicts are funny and some are not. Some addicts are in denial about the addiction they've got. Some addicts are angry and beat up their wives. Some go to rehab and turn around their lives. Some addicts are homeless and live like a slob. Sorry. Some addicts are homeless and some have a job. Some addicts don't care and live like a slob. Some addicts are thieves and liars and cheats. Some are the nicest people you'd ever want to meet. Some addicts are miserable and some are happy-go-lucky. Some addicts are CEOs and others are junkies. Some addicts have families and some are alone. Some addicts have recovered and reached a milestone. Yet some addicts die because of their addiction, because those lost souls succumb to the affliction. But don't forget that we all start out the same. Humanity must stop the judgment and end the stigma and shame. Yeah, it's a topic in an area that is uncomfortable,
Yeah,
for most people, you know,
that's true.
especially if they're not ready,
That's
you
true.
know, to talk about that kind of stuff. So, my poems are, I honestly regard them kind of as my prayers, my
Hmm.
prayers, um, because even as I was writing them, I was writing them like I was already healed,
Hmm.
so they've given me inspiration as
Wow.
well. So even though, I'm still on my own journey, I'm in my own phase, but I'm very proud actually of my poems, and I really feel like they need to be shared with the
Yeah,
world. So
definitely.
that's what I'd
Yeah.
like to do.
Beautifully said. That was a beautiful poem, and yeah, you should definitely be very proud.
Yeah,
You know, and more people need to hear these messages. Way
yeah,
many more people.
absolutely. Yeah,
Mhm.
because you know what? The problem with, the way people have looked at addiction in the past is that it's like a character fault of
Mhm.
the addict. And really, the truth is that alcohol is a poisonous, addictive drug. It really is, even though it's been so prettied up in the media, and they make it look so fun, and everybody's doing it. And yeah, I mean, I grew up in very much in that environment.
Mhm.
Um, but the truth is, it really is. It is a drug. It's an addictive drug. So people some people are more susceptible to becoming addicted to it than others. So it's really, we have to get away from the stigma and the shame of it all, because like nobody, grows up wanting to be an addict. It's a slow, insidious um, disease for some
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
That you just over time, can get worse and worse.
True. No, I think you said that well. It's a disease. It's not, probably the disease is the best label to give it rather than saying it's addiction or, as you said, it's a character fault. And there are always so many different things that contribute to a situation. It's not just like, somebody just out of fun started drinking and they thought this is fun, and so they kept drinking more. You know, there's always so many different
Well,
things.
I would say there's probably a lot of people that did start out that way.
Mhm.
You know, because in the beginning,
It is
like
fun.
it can be fun, you know. You know, as a teenager, that's probably when most of us, you know, experiment with it. And, you know, it does help initially with, you know, social anxiety. At least you think it does, because it does. It relaxes you a little bit enough, you know, you become more sociable and whatnot. But over time, the effects, the toxicity on the body, the brain, you know, the gut health, it just it just gets worse and worse, and you don't realize what's happening really in your body and your mind until things are a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much for sharing about that. It was really inspirational and informative for sure. All right, let's see. What is my next question to you? What are you working on right now, by the way?
Right now, I am kind of in a quiet period. Haven't had too many poems lately. I'm working full time. I'm going to be moving. So I'm just keeping busy with that kind of stuff. I'm a new grandma, so
Nice.
yeah, and unfortunately they live down in Phoenix.
Oh,
So
okay.
and my grandson's now 6 months old, and I haven't seen him since he was born. So I'm, you know, waiting for traveling to open up again and whatnot. Um, yeah, just, you know, just still, I'm still in my process of recovering life, recovering, you know, a happy life.
Happy, balanced life.
A happy, yes, yes. I'm really just, you know, working on all of that, in a, you know, in a holistic way. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So got
So
back into yoga.
nice. Yeah. Do you do yoga too?
I'm back into it.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
Yeah. You know,
yeah.
because I mentioned this a lot actually during these live talks, but most artists cannot really connect with it. I say that, you know, like when I'm talking about art and health, I mean all aspects of health. I mean physical, mental, and emotional health. Now there
Exactly.
is the new addition to it, spiritual health too. But I just tie that within the emotional health. I don't want to
Mm.
get it too complicated because they are all related anyway.
They are, but may I add that in when someone is in active addiction, I would say, because I know this for myself, I was spiritually devoid,
Mhm.
very much so, to the point where, you know, I didn't care about myself, let alone anyone else, right? And certainly not God or you know, my God. So that's one aspect I've really leaned into in the last 4 years, was because I really needed, when, you know, when this trauma happened, that I knew I needed help, and I leaned into, you know, religion, you know, going to church, and I would say I'm more spiritual now, and but it's definitely a part of my life now, is my spirituality and connection to my God.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a necessity.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thanks for mentioning that. I think it's a great message because, as I told you, throughout all these interviews and live stories that we had, nobody has mentioned that so far. Everyone is just sticking to their art. But I think it's
Yeah,
a very important part of where art is coming from too. You know, where do you get that inspiration?
exactly.
Is it within you? Where is that within you? Where is your heart is connected to? You know?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And then as you go along, something will happen that can trigger some emotions,
Mhm.
and then and that's where your art can
Yeah.
come from, you
Yeah.
know, how you express it.
And even I see that all those triggers are important that they happen because you do need to deal with them. Because next
Absolutely.
time, if it's going to come up, you're not going to be triggered again. You will be
Yes,
done with it. Yeah.
that's right. Because you're working it through. You're working it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it has, every time it happens or something similar, it has less of a negative, impact.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Uh,
So, Kelly, here's my next question to you. As I think you kind of mentioned this, that one of your friends who is also a poet or poetess was inspirational for you. Do you have any other people that were, inspiring you or encouraging you for your art?
Yeah. I mean, initially when it first started happening, um, my close friends and family, and at the time I had a life coach. I was pulling out all the stops in every healing modality I could find, life coaching, sound therapies, massages, and all of it together kind of was what helped.
Mhm.
Um, and so yeah, so the people close to me, very supportive, obviously. Yeah, very much so.
Great. So, here's my next question to you. If you could change anything about yourself, what would you change?
Well, it would be, I realize that I'm a dreamer,
Mhm.
but I would like to be a doer
Okay.
and bring those dreams to fruition. I realize, yeah, I'm quite a dreamer, but I seem to be stuck in many ways to actually getting them,
So you're
completed.
very slow at taking actions, let's say.
Yeah, yes, because I seem to be stuck in a lot of fears.
Mhm.
Yeah, fears holding fear, a lot of fears about, things, just not knowing how to do things, um, keep me stuck,
Mhm.
So I would, if I could just snap my fingers, and just turn into Superwoman and be able to accomplish, whatever I'm dreaming, that would be amazing.
Great. So that's my next question to you.
Yeah.
If you could have a superpower, what would that be?
Uh, well, I think, what I think I would love to be clairvoyant.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, just for the knowing. I'd like to have more confidence and clarity in, in I don't know, the future, and to be able to make sound decisions.
Mhm.
I would like to have clairvoyance.
Do you think that would help others too? Like if you would have that kind of power?
I think so, because then I really believe that I could really truly step into my my power,
Mhm.
my power, my vision, and step into something bigger and something that can impact people. With my poetry, I'd love to take it out there. I
Mhm.
just I'm a little stuck because I'm just not sure how to do that, or how to go about it all. And then I've had a couple of kind of missteps where
Mhm.
kind of gotten collaboration with some people and then it went sideways. And so I'm a little, I'm skittish, and, I have, and stuff. There's trust issues and whatnot. And so that's kind of keeping me back. But I know, things will evolve and come around when it's supposed to, at the right time, and, and the right things will happen.
Exactly. Yeah, patience is always should be a background for all of us.
Yeah, that just reminded me of patience, is because when people in addiction, it's very much about instant gratification.
True.
And when you're in, when you're going through recovery and whatnot, you have to learn patience, and live with that. Yeah, that's just an interesting
Yeah.
side thought that I had when you mentioned patience.
Thanks for mentioning it. All right, Kelly, out of my questions, because my last question is that how our viewers can reach out to you or view your work, but you already mentioned that you have a Facebook page, 2 accounts here on Instagram, and you're still working on your website.
Yes. Yes. Hopefully soon. Yeah.
All right then. Well, if you have any last words, or if you have another poetry you would like to read us before we say goodbye, please go ahead.
Well, let's see. Yeah, sure. I would like to read. What would I read? Just a really short one. This was kind of started. It was one of my very first pieces, and it's called My Voice.
Nice.
I said, I'm finding my voice on these pages you see. My thoughts and emotions are being set free. I couldn't find the words to say what I wanted. I had kept silent, but felt so haunted. My lips were pursed and I couldn't let it out. Fear of being judged gave me self-doubt. Now my words are being unleashed. My phrases abundant, like a delicious feast. So as a matter of fact, I do have something to say. My pen to paper, my truth to display. Now here I am, it's all becoming clear. I'm working it out by facing my fear.
Beautiful.
So.
Here we go. Let's work it out by facing our fears.
Yeah, so like again, it's something I have to work on every day, but yeah.
You're getting there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so very much, Kelly, for joining me and accepting my invitation. And yeah, it's been a pleasure to talk with you, and it was very inspirational talk. And yeah, hopefully we can have, we can do this again in the future about other topics and getting into more details of, maybe the recovery addiction, or, or just poetry writing.
Sure. I'd love that. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, I would like to also thank everyone who joined us today. Some people, popped in and out, and, they watched us. That's great. We'll also share this video on YouTube soon. And tomorrow we'll have another Dear Artist. So tune in with us. And on Friday, we'll have another artist who's a songwriter, and he will be performing for us. So that would be great. Make sure that you join, Kelly, okay?
Thank you. I will.
Awesome.
Thanks again.
Thank you so much again, Kelly. You have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.